Guys, if there's one thing that preppers put a lot of thought into, and that is their bug out bags and their everyday carry kits. And just like bug out bags, what people include in their everyday carry kits will depend on the circumstances, depend on what they like, of course, what they envision encountering that they'll need those everyday carry kits for. But a couple of things are common in most EDC or everyday carry kits, including a handgun and a knife. And those two items actually are the ones people spend the most time thinking about and trying to get the very best to include in their everyday carry kits. And keeping that in mind, I've gotten several emails over the last couple of weeks asking me to do a video about my everyday carry kit. And I've done several videos in the past about the everyday carry kits. So instead of doing a repeat of those videos I did a year or so ago, my everyday carry kits, where I had a pocket dump showing everything in my everyday carry kits, the kit is pretty much the same. There's a few slight variances depending on the time of year and depending on the gear I have at that time or the gear I'm testing out or things like that. But generally it's pretty much the same gear, so there's no use in doing another full pocket dump, at least right now. I might do that later, but not right now. So instead I decided to do a video to let you all know my 3 favorite everyday carry knives. Like I said, everyday carry knives and the everyday carry handgun are the 2 main topics when it comes to everyday carry kits, and the one people put the most thought into. Now, when you choose an EDC knife, what you choose will depend on what you envision using that knife for. For me, I like to have a knife that I can use to, of course, cut things. If I need to cut a rope or a seat belt or something like that, the knife has to be sharp and able to cut things. And that's the first consideration. But secondly, and the one that I actually look at most in the most detail and give the most thought to is this knife good for self-defense? Is this knife good for defending myself from attack if it should ever come to that? I hope it never does, but if it ever comes to me being attacked and all I have is the pocket knife, is the EDC knife or the pocket knife, is this knife going to hold up? Is it going to be effective? Is it sharp enough? Is the blade made correctly? Is it fast to bring into action when needed? And that's some of the things I look at when choosing an everyday carry knife. Another one of my main criteria for choosing an everyday carry knife, and that's cost. A lot of people will spend $300–400 on an everyday carry knife. I like to keep my knife prices, especially the ones I carry. I have a few higher priced knives, but they're just mainly collector's type knives and just made pretty much to look at and admire. But for an everyday carry knife, I like to keep the price of those knives below $100 and preferably below $50. Now a lot of people will say you can't find a good knife for under $50, and you can. You can find plenty of excellent knives under $50. You might not have the bragging rights of showing some, look at my $550 pocket knife, and admiring that and impressing your friends at the shooting range, but you'll have a good quality knife still yet to carry and will do just as good as this more expensive knife without having the bragging rights. A lot of people spend more money for bragging rights, unfortunately, so they actually waste a lot of money. But anyway, with that said, let's look at my 3 favorite everyday carry knives. Guys, I bought this knife probably about 7 years ago. I actually bought this knife when I lived in my old homestead, and I was working on the garden project, and I had this knife on me, and I was needing to cut something. I forget what it was now. I think it was a zip tie I was cutting. I was putting up wire around my garden area, and I was having to cut a zip tie, and somehow the first time I used this knife, the very first time I used it to cut anything, I cut the zip tie and somehow managed to slice my finger or my thumb. And it was a pretty good cut. It's healed up now, of course, but I still have a small scar here on my thumb. You can see it or not, but it sharp enough that I just barely nicked my finger and cut a good cut out of this finger the first time I used this knife. It's really sharp. And when I bought this knife, it was about, I think it was like 75 bucks when I bought this knife. The last time I checked, the knife was priced at, I think it was $49 or $39. I'm not checked in a couple of months actually. But it's $49 or $39, so it's actually dropped in price. But the quality of this knife is really good, guys. As you can see, it's a thick knife, has a thick blade. But the blade is made, this knife is made, and the blade is made specifically for self-defense type purposes. This knife was actually designed by Kelly McCann, and it's called the Black Hawk Crucible. He has Kelly McCann is or was, I don't know if he's still doing this or not, but he was a high-level self-defense, firearms, knife, hand-to-hand combat type instructor at an academy called the Crucible. And very good training, actually. I have a lot of the videos. I've not been to the school myself, but I watched a lot of his videos when he was actually doing videos for Paladin Press, and they sent me a lot of his videos to review, and very good, very knowledgeable. I don't know if they're still teaching or not, but if they are, it'd be good to go if you live in that area. I think it's in like West Virginia. I could be mistaken about that, guys, but what I could tell by the videos, very, very high level instruction. But anyway, he's the one that designed this knife for self-defense purposes. It has like I said, a good wide blade, and the point is made, you can see, it's made perfectly for stabbing, to get in through clothing, through a coat, or whatever you need to stab through. It has a really strong lock. It is really quick to open, as you can see, very easy, very smooth. A very good knife, guys, and well worth the price. Unfortunately, it's made in Taiwan, but like I said, Kelly McCann is the designer of this knife. It's a good design, good strong knife, good strong locking system. The blade doesn't have any give to it, as you can see. Very solid, very sharp. Will actually shave. You can see the hair coming off right there. So we'll shave. Very good knife, guys. Guys, this is the Carson Design CR-KT. It's an excellent knife, and I've had this knife for several years. And I actually carried this knife for a couple of years straight. I love the opening mechanism. It's got the flipper type opening. You can see here your finger just goes here, and it's real smooth, really quick and easy to open. It's actually quicker and easier to open than a switchblade. With a switchblade, you're having to find that button to press that button to get that knife to open. With this, your finger's already right here in the natural position. You pull it out of your pocket, and it's already here, and your finger's already ready to open that knife up. So it's very well located, very efficient, and that's one of the best opening systems, I think, for everyday carry type knife that's going to be used for self-defense is this flipper type mechanism. This knife actually has two separate locking mechanisms. The traditional locking mechanism inside here that keeps the blade from shutting. It also has another locking mechanism here. You have to pull this back, and you have to push this up and pull this back to close this knife up. So it's very solid and very well made as far as the locking system goes. And it's with that type locking system, this knife is just about as strong as a fixed blade knife. You don't have to worry about this knife closing back on your fingers or something like that. Plus, this right here, the way this is made, as you can see, it actually acts as a stop for your hand when you're stabbing into things, to actually keep your hand from sliding on the blade and getting cut. Because if you're in a self-defense situation and there's been someone being cut, then your hands most likely are going to be covered in blood. And blood is slick, so this here will help you from getting your hand actually cut on your own blade if you have to stab again, because if it's slick, your hand can slip right off and go right up your blade and cut you and do just as much damage to you as it's going to do to him during that strike. So it's very well made, I think, and very well thought out. I don't know if it's actually thought out or it was just part of the way the knife is made, but it's actually really good to have that right there. But very quick, very easy, and very smooth, guys. But it's kind of a large knife, it's kind of a heavier type knife, but for the self-defense purposes, to me, if I had to choose one of the three I'm going to show you here now, and I knew I was going to go into any type of situation where I have to use a knife for self-defense, I would choose this one. And guys, this is also Carson Design. It's essentially the same knife I showed you a minute ago, just in a smaller size. You can see they both look a lot alike, but it's a smaller size. It's also a lighter weight. This is actually the first dedicated everyday carry knife that went in with my everyday carry kits. I've always carried a pocket knife, but when I started putting together an everyday carry kit, this is one of the first knives that went into my kit. I've carried this knife off and on for about 8 or 9 years actually, guys. But guys, you can see this knife blade is actually stained with blood. This isn't human blood, it's actually squirrel blood, where I used a knife to skin squirrels at one time. Like I said, everyday carry is meant to have a knife that you can do multiple tasks with. Skin a squirrel, skin a rabbit, gut a deer, gut somebody that's trying to gut you, or something like that, guys. Multiple purposes. But like I said, to me, self-defense is one of the main reasons that I choose the type of knives that I do. This is a smaller knife like I showed you a minute ago compared to the other one. It's more lighter weight, but it's also an excellent knife with the same type of locking mechanism, opening, and it's very quick, very easy. If I had to choose one of these knives to carry all the time and could never change back out of these three, I would choose this one because of the size and the weight of this knife. And if I remember correctly, it's around $49. I will link to these knives in the description box below. You can go to Amazon and check these out if you're interested in any of these knives. If you are, it'd be great. If you want something else, it'd be great also, guys. But these are my 3 favorite everyday carry knives, and the ones I actually have the most experience carrying. But anyway, guys, if you like videos like this, about prepping, homesteading, survival, if you like videos about self-defense and tactical type issues, be sure to subscribe, turn notifications notified each time that I upload a new video. Thanks guys for watching. I'm the Creekmore. See you in the next video, guys.